A double header today for the forums. Triple header. Well, triple header with the Barb intro. Yes, the big announcements on the bylaws was the first part of what we're looking forward to here today. So we're going to be joined by Alisa DeRider, UUCD's treasurer, and other trustees for the quarterly board forum update. We'll update you on how our operating budget is faring and other congregational items of importance, like you already heard. And then stay around for the last 15 minutes for a brief preview of I Am Destri by Destri Erwin, a poetic memoir, a celebration of poetry and memoirs by one of our very own UUCD members. Come to hear about Destri's writing, reflection, and creation of her chapbook. And then also know this, after the service, Destri will have an event and a celebration to find out more. So thank you all so much for being here. You're in for a real treat. And with that, I'll pass it to you, Alisa. And thanks to all of our online attendants too. Glad to see you. Is the volume good? Do you want it louder?
Good. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. I'm a little short, so you will have to I can see everybody, but you might not be able to see all of me. If I duck behind. No. Okay, so good morning. We're going to do our quarterly budget financial report, how everything's going. Generally, things are going well. We would definitely communicate sooner if things weren't going well. So this is going to be nice. One second. Okay, so we're at the third quarter of our financial year. That means we should be at 75% of our budget. And you can see pledges are trending a little higher, and that just happens. People pay their pledges either monthly, quarterly, or sometimes they do it all at one time. Sometimes they wait till the last minute. So that this is in a really good position is great. A couple of these other income pieces like the open plate and miscellaneous income, we don't really budget that very high because we don't know what's going to happen. It's like we get some earnings on some sort of refund, we get a rebate on something. Somebody just gives us money in the open plate, which doesn't happen often now that we have the simple give, because a lot that makes it identifiable giving. Income is doing fine. We're doing good. We're tracking. Any questions? Oh, we have to share the microphone. Right now, only one of our microphones is working, so it'll just be a little bit of back and forth if we have questions. There are paper handouts if you wanted this in paper. That's been requested before. Thank you, David. You can take with you. We'll put it in the Connect, the next Connect. Any other questions about income? Okay. Okay, we're going to move down to expenses. Here's our expense budget. Also doing well. You can see this is actually tracking a little bit low, which is great. I mean, that's the ideal situation, right? Income is tracking high and expenses are tracking low. So we're doing good. We may very well have a budget surplus, but we have no idea about that until like July, because we have to wait for the year to close. And then we'll know. And we pop it in. So actually, I forgot to mention that we did have a little budget surplus from last year. We have it right there. We put part of it there, part of it in building reserve, and part of it went to, excuse me, part of it went to making our UU fair share whole. We would like to keep that at 100%. We are using a lot of services from UUA, especially during all of this transition. But even before the transition, we were using, they have webinars and they have little weekly chats that sometimes our board presidents go check in with other board presidents, and it's very helpful. And I know Kathy also has some community outreach with other congregational administrators. So it's super important to keep that at 100%. They don't do anything if we're not. We don't get chastised or dinged in any way, but it's important to support that so that the services they provide can continue to be available for us and other people. We have to keep their budget going. There's been, you probably remember there's been a little bit of change with our congregational administrator. She went to 3/4 time, and then we hired an office assistant, and she's at 1/4 time. So that's a transition that's happening, and that's going to continue. We got a question in the back.
I don't mind. Well, we gotta have the online people too, so I don't mind shutting.
Do you know if Beth will be taking the position when Kathy leaves?
Thank you. You can get your exercise today. I do not know that. We do know we like her and she's doing a great job. How about that? Yeah. Let's see. The other thing that might have changed is there's the decrease partially in staffing has to do with some of the rearranging we did last year. We weren't sure what was going to happen. We had the DFLE, the Director of Family Life Engagement, and she went to contract and provided some services. And then we hired our DRE, Deb, and then our music person. So we didn't know exactly how those things are panning out. So we budgeted as best we could. And again, on Finance Council, we like to budget conservatively because we would rather be surprised at the end of the year with a surplus than be surprised with a deficit. So that's one thing that is a difference. The couple of other things in the expenses is we didn't really have any snow this year, and whereas last year we blew that budget out of the water. So we've got the ground maintenance way down there. I think we still need our April bill from them, but that's not going to be high. Somehow we have a donation in the caring committee, and this is why this is a negative, because it exceeds whatever they've spent to date, which is fine. That doesn't matter. And you all who have budgets in the committee budgets, please feel free to use them. I mean, you're way under budget for all of those. So that's what we put them out there for. Got another question?
Alisa, I noticed that the forums committee is not shown here. I wonder why.
Well, we have our whole spreadsheet. That's the whole next topic.
Oh, we're going to talk about our forums. You know what? I grouped them together. So where does forum? I'm going to just bop over here, and this is like the details. So this is our budget with all the line items. It's like way too much to look at, which is why we don't look at that except on Finance Council, really. I was just going to scroll down. Did you see? So forum is wrapped in with worship and honorariums. It's in this guy. So you know what we could do going forward is I could add the word forum here.
Thank you, Alisa. Thank you for the question. It's always about too little or too much or just right for detail. And what every committee should, I encourage each committee to ask us for a detailed activity report for your line item on the budget, and we can tell you the what when of transactions for your project, your committee.
Thank you for that. Any other
Yeah.
questions while I'm up?
We're gonna wait till you sit down. Good, thank you, Giga. That is important. You can get any details you want. I had a thought and then it escaped. Oh yeah, we are continuing to leave sabbatical and search in here. Also, because we don't know how things are going and we want to budget for this, we should be budgeting for sabbatical all the time, because a minister, when they come on, we want to make sure we have a reserve in place for when they start and when they take their sabbatical. I forget what the rules are, but it's nice to be prepared. It's like our building reserve. We want that to be ready to go, so the minister can take their 6 months off of study and rest. And then, of course, we're going to engage in a search. We're doing the abbreviated search process right now, where we're finding a contract minister, and you are kept up to date with what is posted in the Connect. So do read that. It's under the transitions. And then we're going to starting at the same time, the full search process, which is way more involved, and it involves talking to every single household member, or every single household or member or friend, to see what they would like, who they'd like to see on the search committee. So we're keeping that alive every year. And so that this may be a result of part of our carryover if we have one this year. Uh-oh, Charlie. No, just kidding. No. I should have had you and Beth here ready to talk about it. Let's see. So we're bopping over to the details. Utilities, electricity. Well, it's not that much lower. And now that's because rates went up significantly in October. Thank you, Beth. Right. So it's a good thing we have solar panels up, because otherwise we would be, but we budgeted lower too on purpose as a result of our solar panels. I think we will see that more significantly, although we will continue to budget appropriately as we see the electrical bill come in.
Just look at the electrical bill, and it looks like
The people online.
I just looked at the latest electrical bill yesterday, and it looks like we saved about over $200 on that bill from the solar production. I can't remember exactly. It was over 200 anyway. And some of the increases in flat fees, and so our solar isn't helping with that, the way they bill. So, and some of it is in kilowatt hour usage, and that's what we're saving.
Excellent.
Thank you for being here. Okay.
Yeah. We should just have you here every time for the forum, because Charlie's going to ask about it. Other questions? I mean, this is it for how our budget is doing. Okay, I am going to now move on to our balance sheet. And this is kind of like how we're doing right now on our balance sheet. It's on the back side of the printout that you have, or it's on the opposite side, whatever you're looking at. This is also just tracking fine. There's one thing in particular I'd like you to look at, is this little guy right here, this 36,000. Do you know what that is? That's our member loans. Look at how beautiful that is. I mean, you could just see from the past few years, 382. Now we're down to 30. It's actually 35,000, but that's the extra for their to pay out the earnings. Isn't that lovely? We have a plan on the board to eliminate that by the time these member loans come to the end of their term, which is September 2025. So we will have zero debt. Isn't that great? That is fabulous. And we have this beautiful building. Yeah, so that's pretty good. The other part, it's not in there. For member loans, there is a member loan for the solar panels, but it didn't get put in our capital. It got put in the restricted because that will be paid out fully once we get our rebate. So it's not it was more, yeah, it was more of a true loan pass through kind of deal. So those are the big highlights. And this down here is kind of exciting. Restricted is where our building reserve sits. You could see I pulled that out separately so we can keep an eye on it, which we also do at the Finance Council. This is a result of using some of our funds, but then also we haven't yet transferred the building reserve that we budgeted. So, you know, every year we are budgeting some to go to building reserve. And at the end of the year, we pop it into reserve because we didn't use it. We didn't need it for any sort of repairs. So that will actually bounce back up to, you know, around 66,000. And we want to keep that growing. We're going to do some research, or I was going to do some research on what is an appropriate amount to have in our building reserve. And I've heard somewhere between 1% to 2% of your assets, but there's also a formula based on your expenses. So we're in the 1 to 2 percentage points of our assets, which is good. But we're going to start having repairs because that's how old our building is now. Now's the time where the furnaces are going, or the elevator needs an overhaul, or something else is coming up because we're at that time zone. Endowment is looking good. Look at that. Endowment committee is in full swing. And as you heard, maybe changing some bylaws. They're also, the one thing they're considering is moving from impacts, is where we keep our assets right now, and they're going to move to UUCEF. So it's UU Common Endowment Fund. So it's got along the lines of social justice investing, but and you know, I don't even know, it's got good returns. You can get your money in and out easily. It's a good system. So they're recommending that we move towards that. Oh, and then we had Giga question.
Now have
Uh-oh.
in the restricted funds top line of 90,000. That's the total value of restricted funds, and the 58,000 is within that number.
Correct.
Just so.
Oh, good. Yes. Yes. It's not in addition to.
Right, and so the other 32,000 is spread across a number of
Yeah.
relevant things. Yeah.
And we have a seating right here in this.
What's the status with the board about the request for the youth fund to go under the purview of the endowment committee?
I believe we just passed that and said, go ahead.
Well, okay.
I believe we passed that, and we could, the endowment can overlook Korkendorfer. I don't think it's fully resolved as far as honoring the request of the person who gave the funds. We need to get that figured out. So there was going to be a small ad hoc committee to look into how to honor that and use the funds. We haven't really been able to use the funds because it has a lot of rules and requests around it. So I would like to encourage people at this point, if you do give money to us, loosen it up a bit, would you? What, as a community, we're not going to just frivolously spend the money. We're going to, you know, use it for good things, but we need not to have it so difficult to administer. Mike would just come up there.
Yeah, no, present.
Zoom people, you gotta be.
I'm part of the labor.
Yeah,
team
she can't see.
that takes care of the bookkeeping and accounting details for the congregation. And we're in the process, as Alisa already said, of moving the endowment fund from its previous location to a UU version of investments. I learned that the endowment chair, we aren't moving the youth fund. It's going to stay at impacts because it's not clear how the board and the youth fund people are going to consolidate some monies and keep us moving toward using the youth fund. So it's staying in impacts until the board and the worker bees get it all sorted out. And I want you to know about that stuff because it matters how we support the broad function of programming with people.
Yeah. Thank you, Giger. Other questions? This is the extent of my portion. Yep, Kath.
The choir came in late because it was practice. Yeah, and you probably already covered this, but my question always is, can we afford a full-time minister? And if I think we're going ahead, but can we afford a full-time minister? That's my main question.
That is an excellent question. That sounds like an excellent question for the budget hearing for next year's. Which is May 12th. So everybody come for that. Yes, we are budgeted for it. It looks like we can afford it. And short story. But good question for.
So I assume that a little bit matters how much money we raise in the pledge drive. Because you can budget for it, but if you don't raise the money, then it doesn't work so good. And these settled ministers hate that bait and switch where you offer them a deal and they go, just kidding. So we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do that.
Nope, we're not gonna do that. In fact, this current year, we're budgeted at 100% for a contract minister. But we have advertised between 80 and 100%, and so we can be flexible. Other questions? Oh, I've got a chat. Hold on. Please repeat Kathy's question. Oh, Kathy. Oh, yes. Kathy asked, can we afford the full-time minister? And then you heard the answer is, yes, we can, but please tune in for more details in 2 weeks, May 12th at forum time and May 19th after the service. So you got 2 opportunities to hear about our new budget, which is also tracking fine. Again, we budget conservatively. And that's it for chat questions. Okay, I think we're ready for the part that you're all really here for, is Destri.
Before anything else, give a huge round of applause to Alisa's work and
Yep, I'm just getting rid of the
All right, so that was great news. Now we have a little preview of the after service chapbook celebration by Destri. Come on up, Destri, and give us a little preview.
So I've written a few things, but if you have questions, there will be time.
I think you could even just put it right here if you want. You kind of be in the middle. Is that all right?
Stay. It's not gonna stay.
What we're doing.
Yeah. Do.
Let's see.
All right, there we go. And perfect.
Mhm.
We'll spotlight this one too. Perfect.
Okay. I first heard about North Star Press from Karen Bauman back in 2019. And it took like a 3 or 4 years before I first contacted them. And that was on Thursday, July 14th of 2022. And this is 2024. And I finally have a chapbook. Curtis was the first person I talked with, and we spoke over the phone. I had gone online and written a little blurb about wanting to do a poetry memoir type of chapbook. And so he contacted me after I had sent them an email on July 14th. And so he was going to call at a certain time, and he didn't call, and he didn't call. And a half hour later, he called and we talked. And at the very end, he's told me that the goats had gotten out. So they had to round up the goats. So they, besides publishing works for people, they also have a farm. And so how you kind of get in the loop, and you are where you are, and a lot of other factors play into the whole thing. So that was, yeah. Oops. And Liz, she, after Curtis did his bit, then Liz, I worked with Liz, and she did the formatting and design. And she was very clear that she was not going to be like a proofreader person or change any of my poems in any way. And so that was helpful. And we had a few glitches with that, but we worked through it. And I'm very happy with the outcome. Most of my poems in my chapbook got the critiquing by the people in my poetry group. I've been part of that group for about 10 years. We meet here in the fireside room the first Thursday of the month for a couple of hours, and we're now a closed group because a lot of people want to be involved, and 6 or 7 or 8 people is really more ideal than 12 or 14 people when you're trying to critique and offer insight into someone. So, and before that, I was part of a memoirs writing group for about 10 years. And so I worked through a lot of my issues with that. And all of the ladies were old enough to have been like a mother-like figure for me. And it took a long time, but after 10 years, I learned that I could trust them, that they loved me. And so that helped me to be able to move forward with my poetry. Okay, and that's all that I have written. So this is my demo copy. In the back, on the back, Liz asked me if I wanted anything on the back, any words or a phrase. And so I chose the words "trust yourself." So let's see. It is. And running down the side of the pages, on the top, there's the title of the poem. And then on the side, running down the side is the title again, but kind of like in like a ghost-like fashion, or like there's more here than meets the eye type of thing. So if you get one, you have to look for that. Because it's not totally obvious, but it's there if you know. Okay,
You wanna read one? Or, sure.
okay. Yeah. I'll read the first one. Everybody. I may have to.
You want me to hold it for you?
Yeah. Okay, the first poem is called Name Change. When I was ill and on my way to the psych ward while in college, my mother told me she had named me Destiny because she felt I was destined to be hers. When I reached my 30s, I decided I wanted to take control of my life and not be bound to my mother. I changed the N in Destiny to R. I was going to rise up and refuse to be broken any longer. Now, when my name is spoken, it's an affirmation of who I am. I am Destri. And then I'll read the last one. To the blank, 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 I never. To the mother I never had. I have had role models on how to care, listen, bear children, love my significant other. I have had older women willing to listen to my story, to offer guidance, share their tragedies and triumphs, hopes and joys in the midst of sadness, loss, pain. To the father I never had. I have had men who have offered hope, dignity when my dignity was lost. I have had a doctor who prescribed life-changing medications, who listened to my sobs on the phone in the middle of the night, not speaking, not hanging up, listening. I have had a friend who took me under his wing, shared a depth of friendship as a father would do. To the friends I have now who have helped me, I give thanks. I would not be who I am without their care and love. I hope to move on with my life, make a difference in others' lives, give back to my precious role models, the very breath of life. So after the service, there's going to be a little gathering here in the social hall, and you'll be able to purchase a book. They're $15 suggested donation, and I'm asking for cash. So, and there will be appetizers available as well. And maybe I'll read some more poems or something. We'll see.
That sounds great.